Now, where did I put it? Here it is.
Welcome to the Toolbox, where my guests and I discuss the tools they use every day to manage life, trauma, and everything in between. It may not be applicable right now, but it's another tool for your toolbox. And I hope you enjoy.
Everybody, welcome back to Tools for the Toolbox. We are here still at Operation Pegasus Jump Special Edition. You all know me, I'm Chad Burles. But who we don't know is my aunt Beth here. So let's start it off with who are you and what is your military background?
I'm Daphne Turkile. Daphne Turkile.
Yeah, I got you. Keep going.
34 years of service. I started off in the Navy as a Marine engineer. And then after they discovered I couldn't stop being chronic seasick, I got sent to the Army. I became a clerk. And I did that until I became a senior NCO. And then I took my commission, became a logistics officer. And I retired in 2018.
Okay. And so?
Mike Turkile. I have 40 years of uniformed service. I enrolled in the Canadian Forces as a regular member, Air Force, in 1981 as a pilot. I was flying went through the program, flying the Musketeer and then the Tudor until I had a barotrauma, left ear trauma after explosive decompression in the airplane. Got grounded, went back too early, got grounded again, and told now you're done flying. So that was about 3 years into my service. And fortunately for me, I was given an offer to any combat arms position at Mars. And so I chose infantry because my OGT as a pilot was actually in Wainwright mostly. I was at Wingcon 82. And anyway, long story short, I was a regular force officer with Patricia's, got out officially my papers in 1989, but started my leave in 1988 as a Calgary Police Service. And also transferred to PRES, Calgary Highlanders, where I did a number of different positions all throughout my service as a cop. And I had the fortune of, just because of timings, I've taken more time off as a Calgary police officer to serve with the Army than anybody else, at least that I know to this day. About 4 years and a bit. So I served on Army Road 04 with the first time Patricia's in 1994. In Yugoslavia, I was a police liaison officer for Sector 7, and then a number of different courses and short-term deployments for Atlantis, from fires to floods. And then in 2009, I took a year and a half leave of absence and served with Task Force 309 with the IA cell for 2 PPCI, and ended up getting detached and working for American Task Force 112 out of Fort Carson, Colorado, and finished my time in the military as the commander of the Calgary Military Police Platoon, which was kind of cool as an infantry officer. Turns out they don't have enough MPOs across the country. It's not unique. There are a number of them. And as far as that component, I finished my time in the Calgary Police Service and I went back to the Army full time as an MCC, Military Career Counselor at the Recruiting Center at Calgary. Did that for a bit until I got an offer to apply to the Lieutenant Police Service Southwest of Calgary, active policing, until all those Army injuries came back on me, in particular my back, and it was and so I finished my time as a cop and got my 3B release in almost 40 years to the day. Finished 31 and a half years of police service and almost 40 years of uniform. I had a break in service in my Army career because I was the boss of that. I covered his helicopter unit, and it was just too busy to do soldiering. So there you go. That's it.
It's great. I was just saying this, but what? You've been out since 2018?
No,
Me
2018.
me last year, April 21st, 2021.
So, and are you guys both just retired now?
Yeah.
Hanging out?
Retired, chilling.
What? So one question I ask everybody in terms of like transition. If you could go back 2018, talk to yourself. How would you make this transition easier? What would you say to yourself, to you specifically, not just to like the world, but like how would you get yourself to make your life easier through that time?
Well, that sounds kind of selfish, but first of all, I would have insisted that I got a department dignity.
Yeah.
Because I didn't. And I got told to type up my own release message just because I was a logistics officer, and the person who was in charge of my department dignity was an officer I had served with for many years, even as a clerk. So that was a bit of a kick in the junk, and I just said, no, I'm not going to do it. You guys are supposed to be doing that. And it never got done. So here I am, 2022. They mailed me my certificate of service, and the dates were wrong. They cut 6 years off my service because they didn't do a verification of former service like they should have done because I had broken service.
Yeah.
And that's not a good way to go out. And I had a pretty good career.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit of a sour kind of feeling, a sour taste in your mouth,
Yeah.
And as a logistics officer, as a leader in the forces, I myself did department dignities for many of my soldiers, and I was even the one as the adjutant for 41 Brigade who did the department dignity for the commander of 41 Brigade, and who was there during my time as adjutant. So I know exactly what's involved with it. I know what the timeline is involved with it. And it's a clusterfuck.
Yeah.
And I don't care if you serve for 3 years or you serve for 33 years. You need to be honored for that service.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with, getting my second bar of my CD in, I took that to a friend of ours who was a soon-to-be retired colonel, and I asked him to present it to me.
Right here.
In this camper. And he honored me. Yep, he honored me by doing that. And it was a pleasure to receive that from him.
Yeah, they don't do enough of that. Unfortunately, I think a lot of the higher ups get them, and then they just kind of forget about everything else.
Mm-hmm.
It's really tough. And what's up? To make it a little easier.
I think I would have told myself long before that, actually, to do a much better job of documenting all of my injuries and applying in a much more timely fashion for those different entitlements and care, because I had an extremely bad experience with veterans affairs many years ago, shortly after my Yugo deployment, and that left such a bitter taste in my mouth that I said, why would I bother when they're going to put me through kangaroo court and turn down any application despite overwhelming evidence and documentation to support the injury. So I wish I had done a better job of doing that so that I wouldn't be playing catch up like I did in the final phase of getting my 3D release and after the fact. And that also is not just me. For me personally, it's because it affected Daphne and all the work we had to do. She's had such an experience with the administration and helped take me through it as well. But if I had also known that better, I think I could have been a better leader because I could have helped guide my troops. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I think I was good at it, but I think I could have been better at it. And the other side of it is, it applies to both my police career and my army career, is that, like Daph touched on, when it comes to the failures of people in positions that they have the responsibility to do these things, I also left both the progression process in the army and in the police service because of failures that I've faced. They're not leaders, and I'm going to change that term throughout this. Is that they're managers. There's extremely few leaders in both organizations. So I wish I could have had a stronger influence a lot farther back as far as both the impact that I was having from these people, but also maybe better managing my reaction to them.
Yeah. That's a tough one when you're sitting there watching somebody say one thing, do another, or jack somebody up for doing something stupid and then just do something worse on their own and get reprisals whatsoever. It's really hard to sit and watch that. But, back to the point of really comes back to honesty, I think, being honest with yourself. When, we had such a hard time when we were released to be honest about what's wrong with you.
Yeah.
And to say, this hurts, this hurts, this hurts. But not only that, I don't sleep well. And there's days I can't get out of bed, and there's days I can't do X and Y, right? You don't get taught that. You get taught to shut the fuck up.
Carry on.
Soldier on.
Well, we have to, because I don't care what your trade is. You should have that in your head where it's soldier first, tradesman second. And so that means we're training for war. Like it or not, it's ugly. There's nothing pretty about it at all. And therefore, if we don't learn how to be uncomfortable and in pain and still be able to function, we shouldn't be in uniform. And so we get raised with that essentially. So coming here to this event, I've been through the whole process with that. Done all my claims and everything, and had the clusterfuck of the military batting their head against Zach's head because they didn't want me to get the treatment that I was getting from back for my PTSD because they hadn't approved it.
You need to check that box.
Yeah, so that was a Whiskey Tango Foxtrot one, right? But we come here and I met a couple of amazing soldiers who were telling me that they hadn't quite started their back application process. And I said to them, one of them left yesterday, day before yesterday, and I said, we're exchanging contact information because I don't care if we do it by Zoom. I'm going to get on board with you, and I'm going to walk you through this and help you and tell you what you're entitled to. And they're going to turn you down if you ask for X. That way, you have to understand that X is caused by your Y injury. And they'll turn down X if you ask for it like that. But when you tell them, hey, this is subsequent to this, and use the right language, all of a sudden it's acceptable. Which, for me, is bureaucratic bullshit. But, it's caused of that. Yeah, but we need to understand, we sold our bodies. Perhaps it's like the highest form of prostitution, right? We totally sold our bodies to the government.
Well, we say all the time, right? We signed our life from without one.
But the enjoyment part was missing.
Yeah, that's true. The happy ending never came.
Well, I got shit up all over.
Okay, so you got a couple of happy endings. But most people don't accept that you've earned the benefits you're going to be getting from Veterans Affairs. Don't be saying, well, I don't deserve that. I didn't earn that. Well, for Christ's sake, look at me. I weighed 127 pounds in Afghanistan. My rock weighed 110.
Mm-hmm.
At that point in time, I had 26 years of service. What do you think 26 years of humping a rock around that weighed more than it's only supposed to be 55% of the body weight, right?
The last time I saw a rock weighed 45 pounds. Yeah.
Like whatever.
Yeah, that was for a morning TV session.
Exactly.
Right? So, again, this is taking a box shot, but my body got beat to shit. I got arthritis in my ankles, my knees, my hip. I got a herniated disc in my lower back. I got arthritis in my lower back. I got, my cervical neck injury. I can't feel my hands anymore. Like, I know I sound like a whiner on the clerk,
No,
right?
no.
Carpal tunnel syndrome. Oh, you poor baby. Did you get a paper clip too?
It fucking hurts, man. Like, I've had all wrist injuries, and I have a lot of and there's back function and stuff like that. Yeah, it fucking sucks.
Well, you know what? For me to sit down and really do the full analysis while I'm writing about my claim to Veterans Affairs, I'm going, okay, you gotta really slow down and think about it. I sometimes, often, almost every day, I gotta ask him to help me take my t-shirts off because I can't get my arms above my head. I have to buy all these granny bras that they open in the front because otherwise, if he's not there, I can't put my bra on. So, and you don't think about that. Can I get by? Right? That's what we always say to ourselves. We can get by.
I had to learn very early that when you ask a veteran if you can do something, they're supposed to say,
Yeah.
American. Yeah.
Yeah. Or
Get her done.
you do it and you pay for it 2 days.
Yeah, 3-4 days. Yeah,
Right?
a week later. Yeah, absolutely.
We don't think about that.
No.
Like, remember when we were younger, we partied for 4 days, recovered for 1.
Yep.
Now we party for an afternoon and we recover for 4 days, right?
Absolutely. It's a constant challenge to get. I actually had to get my wife to do my quality of life form because I was literally sitting there, and this is after years of advocacy work and helping other people and telling people the exact same thing. Just like be 100% honest. Write down everything that hurts, how it makes you feel, what it actually does, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the biggest challenge with it was the fact that I couldn't do it myself. And I had to take, I was looking at the form and it's like, can you do this? I'm like, sure I And
Not very well.
And exactly. I looked over at my wife and I'm like, can you fill this out for me? She's like, I'll ask you the question. And I want you to be honest with me. The first one was just like, does your condition affect your ability to do household chores? Yeah. How bad? I'm like, well, you know me. Like if I go to a breast episode and I'm on the ground, nothing gets done. I'm not even getting dressed.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, that makes sense. And you're like, oh, it hurts every time. But
So it's a pride thing, right? Because we always prided ourselves in being able to do everything, no matter what.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not into the blue job, pink job thing. Mike helps me around the house just like I help him in the yard. We built our deck together, for heaven's sakes. And I wasn't just standing there in a bikini holding screws for him, like I
I'm
was.
sure he would have liked that.
I would have minded that.
Yeah. But I was hauling lumber with him
Yeah.
and setting concrete and digging holes in the whole 9 yards, right? But, so when it comes to doing housework, I'm like, shit, yeah, like I used to be able to clean our 2-story house and the basement in a whole day.
Yeah.
I just go like a whirlwind and do the whole thing. And it was not a problem. But after the injuries, if I even tried that, I'd be toast. Like vacuuming, we had the central vac, so you're just hauling the hose around.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal, I thought. But my back would be toast. And then the next night, I wouldn't sleep. I'd be lying on the floor with my arms out, like Jesus Christ, with a blanket thrown over top of me, because that's the only place I could get any kind of comfort. And to be able to think that, can you do household chores? Yeah. Wait a second, Mike said, isn't it? Mm-hmm. You got to put the chart on the thing. So learning how to pace ourselves. We never had to do that. We never got taught that. Mm-hmm. Like getting this guy to slow down.
So what do you think, what's been the biggest tool that you guys have used to actually work that out and get yourself to slow down, get yourself to recognize the issues?
I'll take that one first. And finish
Yeah,
it.
go ahead.
So, I think being a service couple and also having the police component gave us a number of tools before we really started having some challenges. And because it wasn't our first rodeo, we weren't in our first relationship.
Yeah, we had practice marriages.
Yeah, we had practice marriages. Yeah, that's right.
Preliminary,
That's right.
Yeah.
So when we came into it, we had already made a commitment to each other to not allow some of the things that happened either because we did them personally or because our former spouses did something. We didn't want to see them come back into our relationship. So we made that commitment before the real tough stuff started happening. Afterwards, after some of it, especially my drowning, it was a different kettle of fish, and then we were getting overwhelmed. And when around that happened, I was back with the Calgary Highlanders, and I was the sort of administration officer for a holiday conference, if you will, where at the Military Museums in Calgary, and Colonel Chris Lindbergh, author of Warrior Rising, was a guest speaker. He's also a former Cal High. And Chris was a trauma nurse in Rwanda and during the massacres, and then later on, after in his career, he was the CO of the hospital in Kandahar and saw all the operatives, the casualties and stuff. And when he met us, he and his wife Catherine, after he heard a little bit of our story, said, "Hey, we think that the two of you would be a really good candidate to come to COPE." COPE is Couples Overcoming PTSD Every Day, that they created with the help of Tim Black, Dr. Tim Black, and Wounded Warriors were the preliminary sponsors for it. And it's a week-long intensive therapy session with therapists and specialists, and no more than 5 couples. All expenses are paid, so you can focus on your therapy. You have to go through, obviously, a vetting and a qualification process, and be willing to be coached and mentored after the session for 6 years to help you manage it. That's the prelim. What it did was you asked for what we got as far as skills or tools, and it was the tools we learned in COPE that we take every day, everyday problems to help us deal with our facial stress injury, deal with our triggers that were coming up because of work management, family issues, that sort of thing, and how to better recognize how each of us were reacting physically, what those triggers actually set off, that are the signs that will allow us, to be in a position for you to say, "Daph, we'll stop for a second. Hey, how are you feeling? Because this is what I'm seeing in you, and get her to start talking about what's going on inside. And on top of that, we also got into this really cool battle rhythm, for lack of a better word, of at the start of every session, as we checked in, when we would created our own process, but they had an organized format.
It's called PIG.
PIG, yeah.
Personal, individual,
Personal,
individual, you're talking about
each individual
in the group,
and group.
and then the group
And we would do that in the morning
as a couple.
as a couple. Hey, what do you got on your plate? What do you need help with?
How are you feeling?
How are you feeling? How was your sleep? What can I do to help you through the day? Or what can I do to take that pressure off this thing, especially if it's something that's going to be really stressful?
Yeah. We could, so we would do that pig, and then we'd be saying, okay, so, this is how I'm doing, and this is what I'm feeling about you right now, and then this is what I'm feeling about the two of us as a couple, right?
Yeah.
So, we'd have that in the morning, check in.
And then, of course, when we were both working, we would do our own thing, working, come back, have supper if I wasn't on shift, whatever. And then at the end of the day, we'd have our checkout and go through the same format. Usually it was, a glass of scotch or a glass of wine or whatever. And we just found what it created was this really, really supportive feeling of these four walls, whether it was our house, whether it's this trailer, hey, this is our castle, this is our bastion, our safe zone, and talk about anything and everything, and not feel offended because the other person had a different opinion, that sort of thing, and that's kind of unique.
Yeah. One of the things that I apply pretty much every day as a spouse, especially as a service spouse, but any spouse of a serving member, whether they're first responder or whatever, we always want our spouse to know we're on their side. We back them up 100%. I got your six, right? So he'd come home and he'd be fully triggered, fully ramped up over something that happened that day, and I'd be there. You're right, baby. That guy's a dick. If I was there, I would have punched him in the throat for you. You're right. What an asswipe. And so, he was getting that I supported it. But what I realized, or what I learned, what I was doing, I was keeping him triggered. Mm-hmm. Instead, most recently, Mike's father passed away in February, and Mike's his brother is a confrontational asshole. No social skills. There's no way he could make it in the military because somebody would have killed him. Somebody would have fragged him. I'm telling him. So.
Just remember this.
Yeah. Whatever. He knows how you feel about it. So, and besides, he's not that awake enough to even look for something like this. But regardless, wrong. Talking about you. So, you edit that out. So we had an encounter with him, and Mike was vibrating. And so, pulling open this toolbox that we have, I'm not a clinician, right? But those tools are there. So I said to Mike, so what are you feeling right now? I want to kill the guy, let's punch him in the face. And I said, no. I mean, what are you feeling? What does your gut feel like? Are your hands tingling? What are your physical things? And we had to stop. And he had to think about that exact second what was going on in his body. And it was a full break motion, and it was something that a tool that I'd been given years ago that I'd forgotten about using. And then I could see the man that I love in this emotional situation. I'm on the outside because I don't have this relationship with his brother. Hostile relationship. So I was able to say, hey, what's going on here? And then we sat down and we had a chat about 20 minutes about this whole thing.
Yeah, being attached is such a great tool to be able to use to just separate yourself from the situation. Mm-hmm. Right? The moment you go, wait a second, what is actually happening right now? Am I just being agitated? My wife does this to me all the time, and it's aggravating. And she doesn't. Yeah. But she hits me with take a breath, which I say to my boys all the time. She's like, take a breath. What do you want? out of this situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to go over and on. Oh, I'll punch that fucking dude in the face. Right? And it's like, no. What do you want out of this situation? And I guess I just want to bitch about it. So, okay, cool. Bitch. I'm like, okay, fucking asshole. Get it off the chest, right?
Yeah.
But I heard on Chocolate Podcast one point in time, it's just like, mirror and naked.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone's angry, you can accept that they're angry, be like, yeah, that's fucking dumb. But some people, there's people doing a job, they just how they like, blah, blah, blah. So you're mirroring it back to them, they bring it down.
Mm-hmm.
So that when they receive it, instead of being a 10 to a 10, it goes from 10 to a 7, and then it drops to like a 6 or 8, and it goes down a little bit more, and then you finally get to the point where it's like, yeah, well, that guy's just...
Yeah.
Right,
and you can't change it.
Yep.
Mike used to say as a copper, he'd say, you can't kill stupid, but you can give it a court date. Right?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah. One of the other skill sets we came out of the clinic cope was, have you heard the term of window of tolerance?
Mm-hmm.
So I had heard it in some of the training I'd already received through the side of medicine. But with cope, it was very reinforced about how to make that window of tolerance bigger, because generally when you get to the point where you're attending something like the OSI, or going through your or cope, or going to the TRP, everybody's window of tolerance is about like this, because we've had all of these major influences from being in the military period, places we've deployed to, and then caustic leader or managers,
Failure or betrayal.
Failure or betrayal, and then catastrophic situations that, like an IED or like whatever the case might be, being in combat. All of that then makes that window of tolerance so much smaller, so that when we are back in Canada and we're in our domestic relationship, in our work relationship, in our neighbor relationship, just the littlest trigger will set us off.
But not just that, but often you get a couple of triggers all at the same time,
Yeah.
and that window slams shut.
Yeah.
There's nothing left.
Yeah. And so learning the skills all together that help us both make that bigger, so that we weren't getting set off so easily, and we won't talk.
Yeah, well, you do that, but sometimes it's necessary, and sometimes it's necessary to tell an asshole that they're an asshole.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
because we are all the type of people that don't walk away from shit. We don't. So when we see something that's wrong,
we want to make it
yeah, yeah.
So,
but how we do it is what counts. And when that window is slammed shut, I kind of make a joke of it sometimes that punch somebody in the throat because their attitude's going to change when they don't get oxygen, right? That's true. It's a fact.
Yeah.
But I don't want to go to jail.
Yeah.
And this environment here, where we're all together, learning from each other, and picking up, oh, hey, you know what? I could do that. I could definitely do that. Because I like to think that my toolbox just gets more drawers in it as I get more tools. Right? So, being around these people here, I find they're all like-minded, right? They have the same goal, is to not live in misery. So, when I find myself in a situation where I can react better to a trigger, or I can see it coming, the trigger itself, then, and you don't want to get into that situation where you're trying to avoid it. That changes your life.
Yeah, you'll just end up, you can run and you can hide, but you'll just end up tired.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's still going to
Right.
get you.
Exactly.
yeah. Avoidance is actually one of the very things we work on and helping others not do.
Yeah, you've got to face it, because otherwise it's like I have a terrifying fear of heights.
Yeah.
That's why I rock climb. That's why now I started skydiving.
And pushing yourself out of the
Right?
place. It's funny the way the talk about legal tolerance. I always call it psychological capital. Because capital, right? You can spend it, you can invest it, you can get it from other things. But once your wallet's empty, there's no more money. Right?
Yeah.
Now you have to deal without.
Yeah.
And I always like the term because you can invest it. You can go to places like this. You can go jump out of a freaking plane. You can go to the range. You can go to the gym. You can do all the things that you need to do to invest in your capital. And then tomorrow, instead of starting off with $100, start off with $200, or $500, or $1,000, and you can start using it for other things. And then you have a stressful endeavor or some fucking dude cuts you off or something like that, and you spend $20 on it, it's like, what the fuck? What? You still got 180.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then your kids are freaking out. You're like, okay, that takes $45, whatever.
Yeah.
You're still okay to hold the line, right? You don't
Yeah.
feel like they don't have any money left. Right? But then when you get to a point where you're $30, $40 left in my wallet, I need to really trim it back. You got to tighten the belt a little bit. And like, okay, I don't need to go out into this crowd right now, which is going to take all my money. I can just sit on the edge or get in my car and do whatever. Right?
Yeah.
And I found that really helpful.
That's a really good analogy. I like that.
I
Mind if I put that in my toolbox?
giver, that's the whole point. That's all it is. So, what did you guys think of leaping out of the purpose here? How do you think that is?
I'm going to
Have you
for
learned
this
something from it?
response to Daphne because I did it many years ago, both on the Army side and the civilian side. So, over to you, UB.
Tactically? No. Tactically, my brain said, makes perfect sense. Right? Absolutely, makes perfect sense. And my civilian friends would go, what? And it makes 100% sense to do it. When I was up there, though, that was a completely different story. Like I was saying, I think I crunched 2 4-carat diamonds with my ass. I was puckering. And when our JM said, okay, are you ready to jump? And I went, yes. I literally said yes while shaking my head. And I told both him and the pilot, Gavin, I said, I'm scared shitless. Absolutely shitless. And truthfully, when I play the thing back in my head, I don't remember all of it. That's how scared I was. I don't even remember the sound of the plane. I don't remember the sound of the wind when I was coming down. I don't even remember hearing any sounds from the ground. Because auditory exclusion took over, and because that level of my fear was that high, right? But now that I've done it, I'm really proud of myself because I beat my fear again. If I wasn't fighting these migraines for these past 2 days, I was literally fighting vomiting on the way down because I had a wicked migraine yesterday as well. So that was not a good day for me. But I wasn't going to say, no, I wasn't going to chicken. That's stupid.
So, what do you think the lesson that you've taken out of all this is?
I think the lesson is that my brain still thinks it's 20, even though my body feels like it's 80. No, I'm just kidding. That's not the lesson. The lesson is that I have the strength to fight my fears. And if I surround myself with the right people, instead of the energy suckers and the... I know people who've got PTSD who use it as a weapon. They don't want to heal. They don't want to learn to cope. They don't want to repair the relationships they've damaged with their loved ones. They're happy to be a victim. I don't see myself as a victim. I see myself as scarred, a little bit broken. But when you think about it, the fact that we made it this far and we weren't so hurt and didn't feel so hopeless that, like, some of our friends, where they had to end it because they couldn't get themselves, they were that hurting that they couldn't see any light anymore. The fact that we're here now with these wonderful people who are helping us, themselves, I could go through anything when I'm with Greg.
Yeah, it's really the circle that you keep is really important.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you said, like I hang with Sean Taylor all the time, well, online, I should say, not all the time, but it just being around people that you look up to brings you that because you're trying to achieve something, right? Like, I want to be like that guy. I want to be like her. I want to be like them. I want to do these things. I'm going to do this awesome stuff. How do you get there? Follow up.
Yeah.
He's already there. Let's try it out.
Was it Follow the Sapper?
Follow the Sapper was right.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about yourself, Mike? What's the lesson?
For me, the experience of jumping out of a plane was new.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get out of the airplane fast enough. Mm-hmm. I just, anything aviation is a thrill for me because I've been around it almost my whole life, and starting my career as a pilot, all the rest of that stuff, plus the helicopter unit in Calgary, all of that. It's a blast. I actually sometimes think I'm ashamed I actually worked a paycheck while doing it, but it is what it is. So that thrill is always there. Parachuting thrill has always been there, even though I took a very long break from it. So there wasn't a fear factor for me about that component in any way, shape, or form. It's like, yeah, get her done. Let's go. Come on.
He knew I already had my will. And life insurance. So he's not worried about me. She thunders in. It's all good because of the
that's right. We're all on set, man. Yeah. Rockstar. So that part was absolutely awesome for me. If there was any fear factor involved, it's because the back injuries over time all culminated and over the edge where I couldn't sit, I couldn't stand, I couldn't walk, I couldn't do anything. So it's for both of us, but for me, it's been a long struggle of chiropractic care, of massage therapy, of acupuncture, of exercises, of dieting, of all these different steps to get a quality of life back to where, I can do something that I haven't done for a long time, and that will give us a bit of a big thrill, but also a bit of a test. And I can now do this at my age, at 60, after all this recovery, and I feel like a rock star. Felt absolutely friggin' awesome. So that was like an adrenaline shot in there.
Did you feel like an affirmation that all that work you put in?
Yeah.
Was worth it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Very good. Yeah, it was like a drug, really. And that's what I've always said. When I did my polygraph for a top, and I remember sadly passed away very passionate was my polygraphist, but he went through this laundry list of, what did you do as a kid? Did you do these types of drugs? And did you watch this type of experiment and that sort of thing? And no. List. Really? What did you do for a thrill? What did you do for fun? Oh, okay. Parachuting, flying, shooting, flying, skiing, snowboarding, skiing, went down this long list, and it was all physically active things that gave you a thrill, that tested your physical limits. That was my thrill. So this was like that at all, backed me back there. But for me, it started actually when Tim Turner reached out and thought that, on Facebook, and said, hey, I got something you might be interested in, and it went from there. And so we've been one of the very first to sign up for it, actually, and help through the process. So that's why we're going to stick around, is to help out as volunteers. So that, the thrill part, you got, well, are we going to do it? I'm trying to psych her up, and no, she's like, yep, you're got past that injury point. We're just going to manage it, do some movement exercises and stuff. But I think the real high started driving down the road. And we rolled up and went, oh my God, look at this. This is an Army setup. This is the best of every club we ever were on in Afghanistan. It was everything, how it was oriented, the flags, the briefing room, the mod, everything. It was, and then as people started to arrive and they were interacting and hearing the stories, the laughter, and oh my God, hugs and high fives, it was, it's like coming home.
Tears.
It was fantastic. Seeing people I hadn't seen in friggin' years,
I hadn't seen Gavin since Afghanistan.
Yeah, that's right. So it was magic. It was absolute magic. And then to watch the chemistry of everything moving, all the moving parts of everybody being staged, going to each part of their training, in the different sections or syndicates or sticks, whatever you want to call it, and moving to that progression to J stage, getting out of the airplane. So that part was absolutely magic. But it's not a bad one. It's a fantastic, incredible one. What I thought was the culmination of it wasn't just Army people. It wasn't just Air Force and Army people. It wasn't just Navy, Army, and Air Force people. It was all these specialists who have this incredible skill working alongside some actually very young civilians who are specialists in their own right.
Yeah.
And the magic was all of them together. I trust these people with my life in a microsecond.
Well,
We just did. So how they did it, the leadership displayed by Tim and Rob and all that, the leadership in this organization made it even that much more impactful. Yeah. We're on cloud nine or higher. We're above the bugs.
You made a mention about the civilians that are here, and this environment, this jumping environment is, and this is a new, like a revelation to me because I've never experienced this before, right? But these civilians here, these jumpers, they have the same kind of attitude that we did in the military. We got a black sense of humor that I totally get. They'll poke fun at you. There's no shame in getting a joke poked
as
at you.
witnessed in the mod tent.
We were watching the videos, yeah. Right?
Had a glass watching me try and pop out when I was trying to jump right there.
You know what? Right? And you can't be offended by that. Like we're so not offended by that, and we're throwing shit around at each other left, right, and center. That's the Army we grew up in, right? And it's the same environment here. None of it's done in anger or with the intent to hurt anybody. And it sounds cornball when you say it. It's a loving environment. There's care, there's concern. Everybody here wants us to succeed. End of story. And there's no criticism. If I was to say I'm not jumping out again, I did it once. That's what I had to do. Checked it off my bucket list. Nobody would criticize me. Nobody would say, "Oh, come on. You've got to do it." right? Like those negative friends we have. If we stop drinking or we go on a coffee course, they're like, come on, man, just
What's it gonna do? Yeah, it's not a big deal.
right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, those negative people in our lives.
So, yeah.
But this environment with these cities that, like this, it's almost as if it's a. If I had been getting out of the military now, this would have been a transition for me.
Bingo. We had a conversation out on the field about this. Exact thing. Don't you wish this could have been?
Part of our transition, instead of like the scan seminar, right? You could get as you're releasing. That's another thing that's what the fuck, right?
Yeah.
You should have that scan seminar 8 years before you're retiring. Because you should be financially preparing yourself, emotionally, mentally, preparing your family for when you retire.
I heard this. I've told the story a lot of times, but it's just kind of hilarious. So when I was released, I was in Meaford, and I had about 2 months left in my contract, and I was like, "What do I should be doing something? Is there paperwork to fill out, or like walk off the base?" I'm like, I don't know. So that's
Yeah.
so
Because you don't know what you don't know.
I walked into my admin office, and I was like, "Hey, sir, so my contract's up in a couple months. What's up? What do you do? How do you deal with it?" And he's like, "Oh, I'll come back tomorrow." Okay, so sure. Next day, "Hey, sir, what's up?" Like, he's like, "Here's a 17-year contract. You want to just sign that? I'll get it going." I was like, "No." No, I'm like leaving. He's like, "Well, I mean, you gotta understand. You're the math corporal, the engineer math corporal. You're already under sergeant's course. I have your orders right here. You're gonna go engage down in January. You're gonna be running on that first course. You're gonna be, and you're gonna come back. You're gonna get promoted to sergeant. You're gonna be engineer sergeant station." I was like, I don't. Wait, so like, let me get this straight. You want to entice me to stay in the military by sending me a gauge down for 6 months? Fuck no. No thanks.
Yeah.
But then, I went to the doctors and did the medical outpatient and all that stuff. And I had been told by a friend of mine just be like, absolutely brutally honest, anything hurts, tell them. And so I started going down the list. Every time, like I'm adding stuff.
You know what actually helped for me to realize that how many things had happened to me. You know those pictures of the front of the guy and the back of the guy standing there, all the lines shit on it. Well, that's exactly when I blew it up, so there had more space. Took my crayon out and started writing and going down the list. And holy shit!
What's funny is when you show that to a civilian doctor.
Oh, I know.
What? You're still breathing? I can't believe you.
How are you alive?
Yeah, I've been asked how many times. I don't know how many times I've been asked this. Like, how are you walking?
Yeah.
Like, well, you put your left foot on the other right.
And you put it over again.
Yeah. And I'm like, no, but no. Like,
Yeah. So it wasn't until I did that I actually went from maybe 2 applications to back to 50 or 19. It was
You're
crazy.
exaggerating a tiny bit with it, but you know what? No, those are you've got 7. But the thing is,
It's a new valve.
well, it's kind of like with what he went through in Afghanistan, and he produced a document in his defense because he was falsely accused of something. He produced a document in his defense, and because his emotions were so involved in it, it was a 20-page document.
Yeah.
Much like a vaccine, right? And we got together and we honed it down, and it ended up to be a 5-page document, chronological order, everything was great, and everything was clear.
Evidence-based
Yeah.
instead of emotion.
But you know what it is, what it's like, and when we're doing those things about our bodies, our pride is involved.
Yeah, the ego starts to kick in.
Yeah.
They're like, well, no, I'm fucking fine. I'm fine.
Okay, I'll fill this up with my friends.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because the last thing, what's the big expression? Am I right?
Yeah. Mandos. Yeah.
Flaming leggings.
Damn Mark Mandos. Fucking malingerers, I tell you.
Yeah.
And actually, before I left my regiment, I was telling all my young troopers, I was like, look, this here's happening. If something hurts, go to the miner. Get them to document. Outside of that, cool. Come back to work.
And keep it copies.
And keep copies. Yeah. Make sure everything's signed off. Even when you're doing memos, they're like, let me put it in the memo. I'm like, make sure you fucking get a copy of that. And signed off by the warrant. So you have it. Well, no. I'm like, no.
Yeah. Hello.
Fucking paperwork. Everything is paperwork.
Yeah.
But it's very true that you have to advocate for yourself, which is hard. But you also have to advocate for your troops constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is
harder sometimes. Yeah. You shouldn't, as a leader, junior leader, I don't care what level you're at. You know, if you're senior private, senior sapper, and you've got a couple of duties you're leading around to keep them alive, kind of thing.
Set them up for
yeah, bring me back 150 meters of flight path, 2 buckets of 2 gallons of what do you call it?
Rotor wash.
Drop wash.
Don't forget some elbow grease while you're at it.
Yeah, and a right-handed screwdriver.
Right-handed screwdriver. Yeah, the BFA for the 8th floor.
I haven't heard that in 30 years. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I was a little bit smarter than some of my other privates when I first showed them. They said, no, I get a bunch of shit. Oh, okay, cool, man. And I went back to the chat. Showed up on 3 days. Where have you been? We've been. I'm like, I went to go find print squares. I couldn't find any. Took fucking day off, man.
Yeah, he's an empty there, right?
When you try and put one over on something.
Oh god, yeah.
They're take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Sure. So do you guys have any social media stuff? Anything that people could follow you on you?
Did very, very little.
We had to clamp down on our social media stuff because of the situation that we talked to you about earlier, and but hopefully when that situation is closed up, and that hopefully might be happening by the end of the summer.
So yeah, our Facebook profile isn't really out there. Like a lot of people, especially in our backgrounds, is private. So we have to firstly approve that. Somebody who needs to be part of it. We're not on Instagram.
Well, I am.
Not hanging out with all the cool kids on.
No.
Yeah.
I did when I was still working. I was LinkedIn.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Yeah.
I got onto Twitter because my sister got me onto Twitter, but I'm not really comfortable with Twitter because it's owned by the Chinese, and you know.
You're owned by Elon Musk now.
Is it
Yeah,
Twitter?
it's in the process.
No, it's not. It's not Twitter. What's the other one? Not Instagram.
It's that new one. It's that new one.
TikTok. TikTok.
It's there's a new combination out, right? You know about that one? Yeah. Twitter and
YouTube.
Instagram and YouTube.
No. Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. They're putting them all together as one.
What are you talking about, Meta?
No. Twitter,
Face.
YouTube, and Facebook, and they're calling it YouTwitface.
I've never heard of that.
That's a joke.
I know.
Yeah, so no, we're not. And for now, that's probably.
Yeah, well, we've got grandsons and daughters that we need to keep safe too.
Yeah.
And until, a lot of people go, you're anally retentive or you're paranoid or whatever, but you know what? I'm not paranoid, I'm just terrified.
Yeah.
If it was just me and my life I was worried about, it'd be a different story.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a tough line to kind of hold because social media for me is a tool. Right? I can put a podcast out, I can reach out to people, people can reach out to me, I can talk to people, I can help people.
Yeah.
What I had very early on, I had to take it and do it. There was a time at the end of the day where it's like,
well, you remember when we had to sanitize before Afghanistan, right?
Yeah.
And while we were there, Facebook postings had to be cleaned, had to be sanitized. And so, I mean, I only put stuff on Facebook for my daughter, my youngest, to reach out to me or to see, you know, if there's something going on that might be interesting. But if anybody does want to reach out to me, because I'd be happy to help anybody who needs any help with a back application or whatever, I can certainly walk them through that. Or just maybe talk to them about my journey. I've Delta Tango on Facebook. And if they want to messenger me, you know, I don't know what they call it, DM?
Yeah. There we go. Keep it slang.
Yeah.
Keep it slang.
Send me a DM and, you know, we can chat for sure. Because I left while I was in the process of leaving the forces, and I had spoken to 3 young soldiers that I've been working with on and off over the years, and they were walking a really tough road, and I knew they weren't going to go and ask for help at that time. They weren't ready, so I told them about what I went through and what I was going through, and I found out later from a friend of mine who has been a veterans advocate for a long time. He ended up working with these 3 kids, and 2 of them had been suicidal. And they told him that the reason, 3 of them told him that the reason they went for help was because they heard my story. And they didn't go right away, but they knew me for who I was as an officer, and they knew that I got my, you know what, slapped a couple of times because I stepped out in front to protect my troops. And because of that, they knew that despite my burden, I was the right kind of person, you know, to protect them. So because they had that trust, they went and got the help, you know. And I told them it wasn't going to be easy.
It's hard. It is not an easy road to go down, and you have to face all the shit that you thought you put behind you, and you have to face all of it.
Yeah.
And you have to square in there and go,
Yeah.
yep.
And you know,
Shit happened.
because that happened, because he told me about that, I felt like after 34 years of service, I finally accomplished something that was important, that was meaningful. And it was the first time I felt that in my entire career.
I'm very happy that you were able to experience that.
It was amazing.
Yeah, it was great feeling. You've been on for a little while now, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for both of you guys. It's been an awesome chat. I really appreciate you being on here. I want to ask this last question, the same thing that I kind of ask everybody, but what's next? What do you think? What do you think you got on the horizon?
We have actually lofty goals.
We're trying to build our house.
We're building a house. So we have lofty goals from both a personal perspective and a growth perspective. So we're out this way somewhere. Let's just leave it at that. And we're building our forever home, and with aging in place in mind. But also, we're very, very fortunate as to where it's magic. It's just, we talked about the ambiance this presents, this community, the way it's set up. We have that incredible feeling on our property. In fact, people who have been there describe it as literally peace. It's magic. It's just incredible. And so, I'm going to be in a position where if I want to, I'll be able to get out on my deck with my cup of coffee in hand with nothing but my coffee, scratch my you-know-whats and go,
Swing away.
That's right, baby.
yeah,
That's right.
looking at a certain beautiful piece of scenery. And so we're very much looking forward to that process. It's going to be tough. We're learning some skills along the way. We're taking an owner-builder course to manage our project. But we're meeting some incredible people that are going to help us. Even here, some of these guys, that had these incredible military careers. In our discussions with them, it's like, okay, hey, this dude's an electrician.
Yeah.
This dude's a concrete guy. Whatever the case might be. And so we might be involving some of these guys in our project.
And we'd love to have a veteran-led build like that.
Yeah,
That
it
would be
would be
amazing.
so cool. So that's the big one as far as that's concerned, but we're also really jumping with both feet into the mental health and the physical health component. From this Pegasus to we bought this beautiful cedar strip kayak, 2-person kayak that we're refurbishing, paddle boarding.
Yeah. So we'll be working on our mental health on the horizon, but it's really important for us to give back and to spread what we have learned. So from being a facilitating couple with the COPE program to trying to be leaders, trying to be an example, you know, like what you're doing here. You're creating this incredible opportunity. I mentioned this once to you. You know, Chance, you're creating this place for people who, over their careers, probably never really had a voice. You know, except maybe the guy in the junior ranks mess, you know.
Yep. Or they're talking about it, you know, not in this type of scenario or not in that type of scenario, but somebody who is like-minded, who has had the same experiences. One time we might have talked about it, it was somebody who was sitting there with a laptop and a hand protector in their pocket. Help me out. That sort of thing. So that's one of the things we're doing to give back. I'm going to be, as time goes on, more involved with the motorcycling community and 2 components of it, the off-road training and maybe if lucky enough to doing some guided tours, and then the street riding. I was a traffic cop and got some pretty good skills as a motorcycle operator, so giving back that way, perhaps even doing a tester for, you know, to get people qualified to get their Class 6 license, so that kind of stuff. So, you know, little things like that, just giving some people some skills that they can enjoy the things that we enjoy.
Yep. Oh, and I'm going to be doing steak class because I don't get out. Yeah.
My wife had in the same class too.
It's an expensive hobby, but it's worth it.
It gives you an outlet.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
And it's artwork.
And what else are we going to do? Oh,
Helping raise grandsons.
oh yeah, they're going to be a big group.
Yeah. Holy cow, you have to be fit to be a grandparent. Sweet. Wait for the grandkids to come along.
Well, they call us the cool grandparents. We do some cool shit. Now we can see some of the cool shit.
But you know why they call people grandparents? Yeah. They call you grandparents because every time you see them, you spend $1,000 on them, right? So you gotta be prepared for that too.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I just want to thank you, Chance, for giving us this chance.
I may not have heard that.
No,
Never.
once, right?
Probably never, right?
Yeah.
You're lucky you weren't subjected to more dad jokes, but you need to be building your own portfolio.
I got a deep portfolio.
I got a book.
Maybe you should give some OJT to our son-in-law because he's a little slow on the uptake.
Yeah. The moment I first heard it, my wife going this.
Can't wait to sit there.
But I want to thank both of you. Really appreciate it. This has been an awesome chat. Thanks so much. I really appreciate it.
Chance,
And we'll,
Lucy Tango Foxtrot.
oh dude, I've gotten Chase, Champ, Shanky. Shanky was an interesting one. But I've
Somebody
gotten
called you
Chase.
Tanker, there's a problem though.
Then they might have to meet these guys.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really appreciate it. This has been an awesome conversation. As we both so much.
Our pleasure.
Cheer up.
That concludes another episode of The Toolbox. I really appreciate y'all listening. It has been my absolute pleasure bringing you this guest. If you enjoyed what you heard, please like, share, subscribe, do all that other wicked stuff. It helps me keep the lights on. To all those out there putting it on the line every day, I just want to let you know that I appreciate you. Military, veterans, first responders, civil servants, you name it. Keep this place running, and I really do appreciate it. So thank you. Don't forget, stay open, stay humble, stay focused, with grace, not slack. Chimo.